What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video, and today we have got the best plug and play 4-3-3. That is right, a tactic you can plug and play with any team. Therefore, it's going to be a bit more tamed down because it is designed just to be downloaded and used with every single team, regardless of who you are. If you do enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And this one, the free variants, make sure you do get, whether you copy them or download them, because they are literally crafted to make sure they meet your team's desires. So make sure you are getting them. Let's get into the results. First off, we're heading to Turkey. I'm going to test with Fenerbahce. In hindsight, I would have done Besiktas, obviously Ollie's new team. United fan, it would have made sense, but you know, a little bit too late to that party. Now, in terms of the Turkish Super Cup, we are going to be winning that 6-0 over Galatasaray. The Turkish Cup, we also win 5-1, which I mean is a great start for these Turkish Cups. The Europa League, unfortunately, we don't win. We do actually get beaten quite badly against FC Porto in dominant fashion. But to be honest with you, at the moment, we're looking at a Turkish treble, so I'm not going to complain too much. I'll sacrifice Europa League. We still obviously done quite well in it, getting to a final, and we've got Champions League to look forward to next year. Now, in terms of the actual league, let's go and look at some of the stats because they don't let you down. So actually looking at it, looking at the league table on the big screen, we did have an invincible season, 35 wins and 3 draws, and we go to the actual stats, 140 goals, 945 shots, a ridiculous amount of possession, and defensively, therefore, also very, very good. Now, this tactic isn't designed to be a brick wall tactic, a best defensive tactic ever, but because you have so much of the ball, you naturally are not going to concede the goals. It's pretty common sense, but if you've got the ball, they can't go and score. Now, in terms of the data hub, we can go and see 3.68 goals a game, 0.32 conceded, a good pass completion to be expected with that possession level, and a good tackle win ratio. So do you know what? For a start, I'm going to happily take a Turkish treble. Fair play. Let's not forget that 5-1 Turkish Cup final that we actually did win, because we got off to a great start there from a set piece from Dzeko. We then got to win the ball back quite high up from Sofran Amrabat. A great bit of press there, a ball inside, good little touch, and how about that for a strike into the top right corner, an immaculate finish from a great player right there. And I'll be honest, after the first goal went in, these sort of just the heads dropped. There wasn't really much passion. And after this goal went in, which is the third one, they may as well have went home, because I say that they do get a consolation. I believe after this goal it is. I think we went 4-0 up. We definitely do. We are going to go 4-0 up here with Cengiz. They are going to get a goal back, but I tell you what, through this entire final, they essentially offered nothing. And you know, they're not the best team in Turkey. No disrespect to them. It was a decently crafted goal, to be fair to them. But there was not a single point of this game where I thought, do you know what? I need to really buck my ideas up here and go elsewhere. And we actually done very well here with Tadic in a very dominant 5-1 win. We're then going to go over and test with Slavia Prague, obviously in the Czech League. This was using the attacking variant to make that very, very clear. Now, we are going to win the First Division and the FA Cup here 4-0, which is a very comfortable game. The Europa League is a very tough game against Chelsea, but considering how dominant we were, I did think we potentially could have scraped past them, but hey-ho, we didn't at the end of the day. Now, I know Slavia Prague are a very strong team to the point of where, in fact, if you look at the table, it's pretty much all green. It's a dominant season for a very dominant team. They are the powerhouse of the video. Fenerbahce, for example, are also a strong team, but can be knocked off by Besiktas, Galatasaray. So the last team is going to be a real low-down Premier League team. Well, I say low-down, not low-down this season, but in terms of the actual stats of this one, we'll focus on this for now. An invincible season. The team stats, I guarantee, are going to be great. They are 63% of the ball, most goals, most shots, fewer shots against. And remember, this is a tactic designed for any team, so we're not targeting a certain game style. We're not targeting to go after this possession, but clearly the way we've set up is gaining that ball, which is really, really good because a lot of my viewers do like to have a lot of high possession games. So clearly I'm doing something right. Hopefully you are enjoying it. 3.66 goals a game, 0.49 conceded, a good pass completion, and a good amount of shots per game as well. So I look at it, and realistically, we've got 2 good sets of results, but the big test is going to be done in the last set, where we are going to be a very weak team in the game and see what we can do. And that team is going to be Nottingham Forest, obviously flying in real life, but in the game, they are not high ranked to finish anywhere near where we have finished. We have won the Premier League. Now, technically, it's nearly an invincible season, but we did draw 7 games. We do lose 1 game as well against United, but we've won the Prem. I don't really care how we won it. We also do win the FA Cup 6-1 over Liverpool. They'll most likely be our highlights we choose. And Alanga absolutely thrived in this system. So did Ward-Prowse, to be honest with you. And based off the team stats as well, this is where we only fall in possession. And to be honest, it's to be expected. We're Nottingham Forest. We're not going to have more ball than, well, at least these top 6 teams. It's not going to happen. So let's just be realistic. But we are still outscoring everyone by a lot of goals, having way more shots, and defensively still holding our own to a very good degree. Third place in both categories. Now, in terms of the data hub, it's going to look relatively similar. This one was used using a defensive variant. I will say there's not like a massive swing in how much we change between the 3, but this is much more of a sensible approach to take. And who knows, maybe if I did use the balance one, we could have turned some of those draws into wins, or maybe some of the draws would have turned into losses if we didn't. So it's sort of tit for tat. You've got to balance up what you want to do. And for me, when I've got a season that I've just won the Premier League with, and an FA Cup, and got to a Carabao Cup final, I'm not going to complain. Especially when you are beating teams like Liverpool 6-1 in a cup final, with Hudson-Odoi absolutely lashing it into the top left-hand corner there. And build-up play also in this tactic is very, very good. Yes, that one's not purely strictly off the build-up, but we are comfortable on the ball, and the press is where we really do come alive. You can see there, we press it back, Alanga eventually is going to get a nice tap-in goal. But the game's not flawless, there's no secret in that. Diaz is going to find Jones, who's going to take a touch inside, a little back heel actually, into Gomez, into Darwizzi, who had a big impact on yesterday's game in real life. But I will say, apart from that goal going in, which is, a little final in the FA Cup against Liverpool, you're likely to concede, I'd argue. We didn't really struggle, and that might be the goal of the season, the goal of the year on this channel from Yates, of all people, to score an absolute wonder strike. I don't know what Alisson was doing, though, very far off his line. But the goals that we're scoring, to be honest with you, with a team like this, I'm not always after the highest quality, because we're not Barcelona. We're not going to do elegant tiki-taka every single goal. But as long as we can get in the areas and just spread the play like that, it's actually a very good goal. I would say it's good play. It's a bit direct, don't get me wrong, but if that's how the goals are coming in this variant, I will take it. And we seal it out with a nice 6-1 win, a little touch inside, little cutback, Hudson-Odoi, I believe, into Alanga, takes it past his man, and here's the player of the video. So then, over to your favourite part of the video, that is going to be the tactic breakdown. If you are enjoying, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And once again, if you are interested in rebuilds, you need to come on over and check out the rebuild channel. It is Daily Josh, it's going to be in the description below, and I'll also pop a little thumbnail on the screen to see if you fancy coming on over. Now, I will say, to make this tactic, you do want to load in a gegenpress. For me, I am going to create your own style because I sort of build it on the video, but please make sure you load in gegenpress. If you're watching, gegenpress. And we are obviously going to load in what it says on the thumbnail, the 4-3-3. So the next thing, after you've got your gegenpress 4-3-3, we are going to add on positive as the mentality. We are going to be an attacking team. We're not here to mess about. We're here to win games. So make sure you've got that on. We are then going to look to change quite a fair few things. So the goalkeeper, first off, is instantly going to get changed to the sweeper keeper on support. Now, I've played in multiple leagues this year, and you can get away with using a sweeper keeper in pretty much all of them. Sweeper keeper attack, potentially not, but just a normal sweeper keeper you can play with, I would say, 90% of the teams. So I'm going to take the gamble and say that you can do it with your team. Obviously, this is a plug and play tactic, so the expectation is that you download this tactic and you don't have to change a single thing for that first season. Obviously, as the AI gets in, sort of used to you, you have to, but for the first season, you download, you're away, which is why we've gone with quite a reserve back line. We are going to go with 2 ball playing defenders who are simply both going to be on the default. Again, a lot of teams can hack ball playing defenders. It doesn't always mean we're going to have to play loads and short tiki-taka, but I want my centre-backs to be comfortable on the ball. And traditionally in this game, especially this year, players act a lot more comfortable on the ball with this role. We are then going to go with a wing-back on the right-hand side who's going to have 2 instructions. Those are going to be sit narrow and also tackle harder. Again, for the default version, this is designed for your sort of top 6 teams, that sort of vibe. I'm basing the fact off, a lot of people might not even have the most creative wing backs, so we're not going to look to have them fly forward, do anything crazy, just do the basics, sitting narrow and also tackling harder. Be very good defensively. That is pretty much all we're really looking for, to be honest. Now, in terms of the actual player roles, let's go over and discuss that. So we're going to start things off with a DM on support because, again, majority of teams can have a DM or someone of that role. If you are in a real sticky situation and you're saying, Josh, I ain't got a DM that can play it, You can use a ball-winning midfield player as well, but ideally use the DM. Hold position and also set to tackle harder. Now, on the left-hand side, we are going to go with a box-to-box because, again, pretty much every team has a person that can play this, and he is simply going to be set to get further forwards. Nice and simple, nothing too complicated really, super easy to understand. I do want to quickly say at this part of the video, if you are interested in getting all three of these tactics, getting them on console and on mobile, getting all of my tactics from this year, all of my rebuild files, set pieces, training, one-on-one tactical help, all of these wonderful perks. And this month we've got a 20% off discount code for first-time Patreons. You can come over and check out the Patreon in the link below, where we've just hit over 5,000 people. So trust me, it is the place to be. It means the absolute world. But let's go over and look to the right-hand side of this midfield. We are going to add a Mazzala, who is going to come in simply set to attack. Now again, by default, he has 5 instructions, so we don't need to add anything else and overcomplicate things. Going on to the wings, because we've got quite reserved wing backs, I thought we can have a little bit of fun with the inside forwards. So we are going to have 2 inside forwards. Both of them are going to be set to attack. And they are going to have some additional instructions because by default they've got 5 already, but I sort of want a few more. Now, these wing backs, I will say, despite not being told to be really, really creative and really, really attacking, naturally they are going to push up a little bit. So we are going to have the inside forward on the right set to hold up the ball, also roam and mark the opposite position. So on the right, you'd mark the D in brackets L, and on the left-hand side, you would mark the D in brackets R, as you can see here. We are then going to have the same, roam and also hold up the ball, and these players are going to be nice and identical, so pretty easy to copy. And to finish it, funny enough, is actually going to be a default advanced forward, so it doesn't really get much easier to copy than that, to be honest. Now, in terms of the actual team instructions, we are going to go and build it up. We are going to go with fairly wide, pass into the space, focus down the left and the right hand side, while playing out from the back. The tempo is going to go all the way up to higher, with the passing down by 1 to shorter, and the final third is going to be set to mixed crosses. Now, personally for me, this is a nice balanced way of playing football. You could argue that, you know, Josh, the tempo's way too high for every single team. To be honest, if you rest, rotate and train, you'll be fine with any team. I've played a high press with Vanarama. Yes, you pick up the occasional injury, but if you're doing your job right, you're resting them, you've got good physios in, you're recovering the players, you've got depth, you'll be completely fine. If you want results, this is the best way to play. Now in transition, we are also going to look to add a couple of things, counter press and counter. Again, part of it did surprise me. We had that level of possession with 2 teams because we're not really looking for it, but at the end of the day, I am going to take it. We're going to play to anybody across the back line while simply taking short goal kicks. And lastly, out of possession, we are going to deploy the high press. With the standard line, I usually go much higher, but for those that are just going to plug and play this tactic, I'll go pretty balanced. So a standard line, a high press, step up more. We are also going to have prevent, short goalkeeper distribution, and also max out that trigger press to much more often. Now going over to the attacking version, of course, that's the defensive one. The attacking version, of course, this is designed to attack more. It's designed to be used with a top sort of, I'd say a top 4, maybe even top powerhouse team, to be honest with you. We used it, of course, with Slavia Prague. This basically is a bit more of, you know, the restraints are off a little bit, so it will look very similar. Obviously there are very minute changes. The goalkeeper, for example, isn't a change. The ball players are a little bit of a change. I've allowed 1 to dribble more, but depending on what side your best one is, that is where you'd have dribble more. The wing backs also do now have instructions a bit more: cross more, run wide, sit narrow and tackle harder. They are naturally going to get more involved in the game. The deep line playmaker comes in opposed to the DM on tackle harder. The box to box remains the same, and the Mazzala also remains the same. The inside forwards exactly the same, as does the advanced forward. But the big change does come sort of in the team instructions. Now the mentality does remain on positive, but this is where it gets a little different. So we're still going to pass into the space, we're still going to play out from the back, but this time we're looking for overlapping on the left and the right, focus down the right and the left hand side. So we really are going to push them wing backs up. The passing and the tempo do remain the same, but on this occasion we're going attacking, therefore we are going to look to go more expressive. When it comes to in transition, we're going to look to counter press and also counter, distribute quickly, play to anybody across the back line while simply taking short goal kicks. And lastly, when it comes to out of possession, we are going to get a little bit sort of more out there with the tactic. We are going to whack it up to the higher defensive line. We're going to max out the trigger press, prevent short goalkeeper distribution, get stuck in, step up more, and that will just take the tactic from a tactic that still scores a lot of goals, but will just push the team up a little bit more and be a little bit more goal hungry. Now going over to the defensive one, again, two uses, used for a team like Nottingham Forest, so a smaller team, or to defend the game out with. The goalkeeper and both of the centre-backs do remain the same. The wing-backs also remain the same. What doesn't remain the same is the addition of a DM on defend. On tackle harder, a ball and midfield player comes in on support, simply nice and easy. The Mazzala drops down to support, simply on the default. The inside forward on the right and on the left have the same instructions as the default, but they're not on attack, they're on support. And the advanced forward, he does remain exactly the same. Now the mentality drops down to balanced. A quick reminder, all of these are Gegenpress, just to finalise it one more time. I think that might be the 7th time I've said it, but I will make sure. Gegenpress on the balance this one. Standard in the middle. We're going to play out from the back, focus down the left and the right hand side. We're also then going to play for set pieces. Download mine, because you will score so many goals with them. I think with Nottingham Forest, I think Murillo scored at least 10 goals, so it helps out big time. The time wasting, we're going to look to time waste. We're trying to run the clock down. We are going to have that set to frequently. The tempo remains in the middle. The passing goes down by 1. So therefore, you can see why this might be used with smaller teams. If you are adamant you can't play a higher press, I think you can. But if you're adamant you can't, this is the one you'd want to be using. In transition, we're going to counter press and leave the next option blank. Slow the pace down and also play to the centre backs. Now, this option here, slow pace down, isn't actually just a time waste, okay? It's if you're playing as a smaller team, your keeper might not be that confident on the ball. You don't want him rushing where he's going to pass it. Let him take time and let him actually, think what he's going to do, because the match engine does allow for some, let's say, pretty interesting goalkeeper errors. And out of possession, we are going to go with a standard line with that mid block much more often, prevent short goalkeeper distribution, and simply get stuck in. And that's going to give you not one variant, not two variant, but 3 variants of the best plug and play from this year 4-3-3 FM24 tactic. Hopefully you have enjoyed. If you have, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Once again, do head over to Daily Josh. We've got a Kraken Schalke rebuild up at the moment, which is doing absolutely fantastic, and I'll see you in the next one.